those particular teachers, and I'm sure you celebrate those teachers who made you who you are until now. You are a gifted reporter
every
in this
day.
country.
I'm always thankful.
And many others in Kenya, and the Gen Zs, because it looks like you're a Gen Z.
I am. Thank you very much.
I think Gen Z is the most vibrant cohort that Kenyan teachers have produced.
Definitely. Very good morning to you, Dr. Christine Mbaka. It's a pleasure to have you this particular morning. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you very much for welcoming me to your studio. I'm happy to be here and to air my views on education. And I think it will be a lively one.
Thank you very much. Of course, we'll be joined by Mr. Joshua Okayo later on, the president of the Kenya School of Law in Karen. Let's just begin and have a look at what's making headlines in the local dailies this particular morning. And I beg we begin with what's making headlines on this Standard. And they say Ruto trains gun at PSs in shuffle. They say who goes, who stays. After the radical surgery on the cabinet that saw 13 members dropped, the axe is about to land on principal secretaries, with those in the know saying at least 15 will be dropped to pave way for the broad-based executive. I want to start with you, Dr. Christine Mbaka. President Ruto yesterday said they've not, signed, or they don't have any pact as UDA with ODM. They just agreed to, do a few things together. But word has it that former Premier Raila Odinga, the former Prime Minister of this country, is set to nominate a few members. They're talking about 20 to, for consideration by President William Ruto for the position of PSS. I don't know what you make of all this saga just weeks after the president dissolved his cabinet, and now the purge looks to be looming for the PSS.
Well, we are aware that the president had problems in this country over finance bill. The lifestyles has gone up, it's very expensive, and the Gen Zs and the entire country were up in arms because they could not stand the level of high cost of living. And because of that, we needed to cool down the country to make sure there is peace, to make sure that everybody is included in the government and to bring their opinion. So I think the very fact that ODM came in to support the government is not for political mileage in any way. It is to solve the problems that the country has been facing, to make sure that everybody is united, because we were dividing ourselves politically and Kenya was actually being torn apart. The most important thing is to run a country that is peaceful, that is broad-based, that includes people of all walks of life. And that is the reason why ODM joined the party, to settle the government and to give the government the best of personnel that will work in every sector. So when ODM brought in 4 cabinet secretaries, it was support, there are 5. It is to support the government that needed specialists, that needed people who are serious with their work. I think that's the reason why even the president had to drop those that he felt were not adding value to his government.
Just before you engage Mr. Sosion, you've talked about, the unity of the country.
Yes.
Now, people from certain quarters are saying it was not really for the unity of the country, but President William Ruto was sort of seeking political refuge in Raila Odinga because I was under immense pressure from the Gen Z protesters.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, every time you have a problem, you need a solution. So to me, Raila Odinga was offering a solution that could settle the government down, that would ensure that we are stable as a country. It was not, that's why I said there was no mileage here. It is a matter of ensuring that the country can run peacefully in a united manner, so that we do not have people divided along political line or tribal line. And that's the reason why it is even broad-based, because people from different walks of life, different communities are brought on board.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sosion, it's broad-based. That is what President William Ruto calls it. But they're saying the president, when he, dissolved his cabinet, he talked about austerity measures, and even after the Gen Z protest on the 25th of June, he talked about having to reduce the number of public servants, and now they're talking about reducing the number of PSs from 51 to around 36. Is this a move that is very much welcome from the president? But again, they're saying Raila Odinga and Musalia Mudavadi are expected to propose names of those to be considered as PSs. I don't know what you make of this particular new development.
No, first, before I talk about the reduction of personnel in government and particularly state officers and sharing out, I think it's good I buttress what Mheshimiwa is talking about, and it's a new phenomenon in Kenya because people expect people to fight day in, day out, and in a mature democracy like Kenya, because if you visit other jurisdictions, particularly in Africa, you cannot find a mature democracy that is comparable to Kenyans. So people expected ODM and UDA to be fighting throughout, but then the country is greater, and considering the history of the two leaders, Raila Odinga and William Ruto, these are not new kids in the blocks in Kenyan politics. These are experienced leaders who have actually worked together. If you look at 2007, of course, William Ruto was almost the was actually the de facto chief campaigner of Raila Odinga. And we took Raila Odinga around villages in Rift Valley and baptized him and giving a name, Arab Mibay. And so in 2024, when there are issues confronting the country, and these great statesmen consoled, whatever they agree on for the good of the country is a good thing. And it is not, let's not look at an event of this one of the constitution of cabinet. There is the bigger responsibility of reforming Africa, because Africa ought to be a strong, free continental trade area with strong political integration to develop a strong political ecosystem that gives strength to the people of Africa. And so, way back, you have seen William Ruto and his government fronting Raila Odinga to be the chairman of African Union Commission. True. It's a strong portfolio, a big one. And so, when you see Orange Democratic Movement members being appointed to the cabinet, and 5 of them, Waswahili huwa wanasema ukiona vyaelea jua vimeundwa. And therefore, this is the path to practicing mature politics, that even if you are elected as a president, and Dr. Ombaka here, in another political party that she believes in, and you believe she has the capacity to participate in government, she can be invited. There's no harm. We are all Kenyans. And I think what the president is doing in what we call broad-based is demystifying politics, unifying the country, and playing mature politics. And now when you ask me about the PSS, that now they'll be trimmed from 51 to 36, I don't have that information, whether actually they will be trimmed. Those are mere speculations in the media. And you know, you guys in the media, you speculate, and you want us to speak on what we cannot speak about. That is one. Two, whether those slots will go to, certain slots will go to ODM. No doubt, if 5 slots have gone to ODM in the cabinet, then it tells you that there is a strong understanding between the president and ODM as a party. And ODM is not a new party in town. And many of us have been members of ODM, including the president himself. So really, and many people who are running Kenya Kwanza can trace their roots to ODM. So really, it's not a new thing. This is a social democrat party. Fair just enough. Like UDA is a social democrat party. So these are social democrats who are closing ranks to pursue what is good for the country. And what is wrong with that? Fair enough. It's good for the people.
Somebody mentioned
if the economy is going to stabilize, and if all Kenyans are going to benefit from this type of arrangement and new culture of politics, and so be it.
And somebody, in fact, said that the agenda for UDA and ODM are not far apart.
Fair enough.
Similar.
You see, the question is at what cost? And I really like what Sosiano said, his choice of words. He said the understanding between Ruto and Raila. But, you know, the big question is at what cost? Because people are talking about, especially the youth, they're talking about, you know, Raila Odinga benefiting from, you know, the protest that they led, the youth-led demonstrations against the government. But just before we wrap up on this standard, I don't hear from you, Dr. Mbaka, because Kalonzo says they don't need Raila in opposition.
They don't?
They don't need Raila in opposition. Does it mean he wants to now spearhead the opposition by himself now that Raila Odinga is working with President William Ruto? Maybe
that's what he wants. I don't know. But the thing is, ODM has no legal binding to work with UDA. The only thing, what is binding is that they want to bring the country together so that the country can move on, and we need to work as a team. It does not need to have a legal binding. You can work with the government without necessarily having signed documents. It's just an understanding. It's a matter of negotiation, making sure that what we are negotiating are issues that affect the country in general. So it's not personal. It has nothing to do with Ruto as an individual. It has nothing to do with Raila as an individual. They are not gaining anything individually. What the person gaining here is the whole country, every community.
Fair enough. 30 seconds. You want to say something?
Yes, you've said Raila benefits. Now, the big question is, how is Raila benefiting as an individual?
Of course.
Raila has basically responded to issues of the country that I believe they've shared deeply with the president, and they've agreed on a way forward. If it is releasing 5 ministers from his political party, and there is no political agreement, there is no coalition government. That's a fact for sure. But that leaves ODM with its natural role, as it has chosen, to lead the minority and to lead the assembly and play its role at that point. And this is a new brand of politics in Africa that we must learn as Africa to practice mature politics.
But how is Raila benefiting?
And therefore, when you guys in the media say Raila benefits, that's the question. What is there to benefit?
Okay, fair enough.
He did not appoint himself.
Fair enough.
You should have rephrased it. Kenyans benefit because we are seeing greater integration, and even people like Kalonzo, where they are, nothing stopped Kalonzo from engaging the president and also joining in such a familiar pattern of politics while still doing his own opposition politics.
I can assure you that, I mean, that is not the feeling of the youth out there, because I've been speaking to quite a number of them. But because of time, you talked about Raila Odinga and William Ruto. It could also be a case of scratch my back, I scratch your back at the end of the day, because people are saying Raila Odinga wants the AU seat, William Ruto is you know, fronting his bed. On the other hand, Raila Odinga came to his rescue.
But why was there a revolution there, if it's called revolution?
Fair enough.
Why was there? Raila did not create it, but Raila had played a role in the past. Even Gen Zs have learned something from Raila.
Fair enough.
There's so much that he has offered the Gen Zs in terms of fighting for their rights.
Fair enough, Dr. Mbaka. I want us to jump straight to the People Daily, because they're saying Ndungu, the rot in Ruto's government. Of course, that is Professor Njuguna Ndungu, the outgoing CS for Treasury. And yesterday he handed over officially to the incoming, now not the incoming, but the CS for Treasury, that is John Mbadi. And he said, they say former Treasury Chief opens Pandora's box on how ghost workers and fictitious schools drain taxpayers' money, and explains why he reckons that Kenya must rethink what he describes as untenable education funding model. Mr. Sosiano, why now?
I'm also asking why now. You know, you know, as Kenyans, if you give Dr. Mbaka to be the CS Treasury, we expect her to be communicating from time to time. Speak out on issues. You are not gagged. You cannot sit in an office, keep quiet as if you are locked up in a refrigerator, and at the time when you are exiting, you expose certain things. These are things you should have exposed, as actually indeed the CS Treasury. While what he has exposed, I want to believe is true, because there's a state officer sworn. But then why now? Why didn't he talk about it that time?
That's the issue.
And this is what we are asking of Kenyans when you are talking about leadership. Because you've questioned why, what is it between Raila and Ruto? It's all about leadership. What, and the president has said, this country is suffering from corruption and incompetent leadership. Is this competent leadership that you are trying to talk at the end of it all? I expect John Mbadi to confirm this to us, because we shall ask him as the CS Treasury. Do you think taxpayers are losing money through these unworking education models? Because this is something that must be corrected. And as a practitioner in the sector for many years, and as a campaigner for free education for many years, we started with Kibaki, free education. That was actually a big agenda of Kenyan teachers through Kenya National Union of Teachers. I practiced in it, and in that space, I have been campaigning over time. And I believe Kenyan government has responded very strongly to the desires of the Kenyan people and teachers to fund education, at least to at least 6% of GDP and at least 14% of overall budget as decreed by UNESCO. But then the question is, do we have strong accountability structures so that the value for money can be felt by Kenyans? Do we have strong accountability structures so that money that is allocated to schools actually get to schools and it does the work that it ought to do? It's a completely different thing that we need to deal with, and therefore Treasury should not release money that is going to waste. Now, and that is a personal responsibility of the person, of a cabinet secretary appointed and sworn in to be president. You take personal responsibility. We'll talk about and so we'll need, with this revelation, and to me, it scares me, because I've also always felt there is wastage of money within the education sector. And probably we don't have very strong accountability structures by two things. One, the collapse of quality assurance, which is supposed to protect and auditors. Those are errors. We need to protect Kenyan money.
We'll talk about that in the big conversation this particular morning. But I just want to come to you, Dr. Mbaka, and combine that particular story in the People Daily with the one on the back page of the Daily Nation. And they say, of course, Mbadi is thinking about reinstating parts of the rejected tax bill. And he says he knows his team is working around some of the proposals that were in the Finance Bill 2024, which can be put back together and see how to take them back to Parliament.
Yeah, I think, first of all, what the former CS Ndugu is saying is unfortunate at this point in time. He should have revealed this long before, when he was in office, so that corrections could be made. But at the same time, the positive part of this comment is that now Mbadi, the new CS, can pick up the weaknesses and work on them. And that's why I'm so happy that Mbadi is working with a team of experts so that they can rework on the finance bill and ensure that challenges that were being raised in the finance bill can be corrected now. But Ndungu is needed. Mbadi needs him so that he can pinpoint every sector that was wasted, where things can, loopholes could be identified and corrected. So while Ndugu is too late with this information, it is very good information that can help in streamlining the economy, so that the new CS, Mr. Mbadi, can now know exactly how to redo the finance bill in a manner that will salvage our collapse, because the economy is almost collapsing if you don't watch out.
Fair enough. I want to come back to you, Mr. Sosion, and I want to start with you specifically because the Rift Valley is well known for producing athletes, world record holders and all that. And the Daily Nation on the front page, they talk about scandal of Kenya's athletic talents drain. They say insiders at, of course, AK could be aiding the transfer of young, talented athletes from Kenya to other countries for personal benefit, with the powerful officials luring junior athletes, most of whom are naive, with promises of better opportunities abroad to the detriment of the nation's prowess in the track. They've, of course, highlighted 9 different athletes who are now racing for countries in the Gulf and, of course, across Europe. I mean, this is sad. It's sad because we've performed quite dismally in the Paris Olympics.
Now, that is quite sad, because that is what you call business in athletics and trafficking of skills. And not only trafficking of skills, it is creating servitude. If you have to change your nationality just for money and to give glory to that particular country, it's a bit quite mechanical, and I don't think it's anything that we should promote as a country. If you look at the framework of Kenya Kwanza administration, one key pillar is creative economy, promoting the creative economy, which includes athletics. The issue is, how can we deliberately channel resources to protect and promote our talented Kenyans in different fields, including athletics?
Yes.
How are we going to reward? For example, we are talking about 4 gold medals in Kenya, and Kenya being #1 in Africa at the just concluded Olympics. And as a country, what are we doing to reward those particular athletes? The country is not going to collapse if, for example, you award every gold medalist 20 million or more or anything. The country will not collapse. The country is not going to collapse if we deliberately channel resources. And the Ministry of Sports can reduce different other budgetary expenditure and channel resources to support the athletes. We have seen in Africa, I was seeing Zimbabwe, and you see, for me, I say as it is, Zimbabwe, 67 officials of government traveling to Paris, and 7 athletes.
It's
now,
crazy.
Look at the cost.
Fair
They're the ones who are athletes.
And we are not an exception. We had Rio scandal.
Yeah, definitely.
Real
We had Rio scandal, and it's a scandal where Athletics Kenya and those involved
They got stranded.
are minting money and are creating slaves out of these children.
Fair enough.
And it doesn't surprise
Yeah.
if some of the AK
Fair
officials are trafficking children out of the
No,
country.
it boils down.
And since we have
Yeah.
Kipchumba Murkomen as a lawyer heading that ministry, he should now take advantage of this early opportunity to streamline this
Fair
sector
enough.
and ensure that our athletes
Fair
are
enough.
dignified and protected. Even from what they earn, they should also be guided and
No,
protected
it's
to
too
know
much
how
waste.
to invest.
Fair enough.
So that
Okay.
then
Because
the athletes can also grow into dignified adulthood, and we can see value for what they are doing. We can
fair
monetize
enough.
athletics, and it can be a big source of income to the country,
it
and
is.
the
Okay.
government
Fair enough, Mr.
can
Sisio.
finance it effectively.
Fair enough. Because of time, you want to say something? Just
Yeah,
20 seconds.
I want to add.
20 seconds.
20 seconds. You know, Kenya has a habit of corruption, of making everything so corrupt that you do not have professionals even. The brain drain syndrome. We have this brain drain. It's not just athletes who are leaving us to go and settle in
Even
other
doctors.
countries.
Fair
But
enough.
we also have teachers going to other
Doctors,
countries.
teachers.
We have doctors, we have nurses, we have every profession being trained in Kenya, but leaving Kenya to go and work abroad. Why is that happening?
Thank you very much.
Because we do not reward them.
Fair
so
enough.
the brain drain syndrome must be stopped. Because Kenya is
fair enough.
actually going to remain as a shell
Fair enough, Dr.
with no
Mbaka.
professionals.
Fair enough. Kenya will remain as a shell with no professionals. Over to you, one CS Kipchumba Murkomen. Of course, during his vetting, he talked about the tenure of one to where as the boss of AK must come to an end because there are cartels in that particular association, and it's time you swing into action and address these particular issues because the dismal performance that we had in Paris is quite alarming. So going forward to the LA Olympics in America in 2028, we need to be to start having our house in order starting now. On that particular note, we just take a brief breath. We'll be back to now talk about matters education, the new university funding model, the first coming up or surrounding that particular model, and what next for not only the government but parents whose kids are set to join universities starting this particular month, to be specific next week through to September. Don't go away.